What is up? I'm sitting here with the beautiful Geissele Super Duty pistol, but what we're going to do is really talk about this trigger today, which is a very unique trigger. It's my first experience with it. Despite using Geissele triggers for years and years and years, this thing kind of took me a little bit by surprise. So we want to talk about the triggers that come on these things. One thing that would greatly help me out is if you dig this kind of content, if you would subscribe. Again, it would be a big help. We're trying to build this channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. So let's take a look at this trigger. So if you take a look at this trigger, you're probably going to be thinking, that looks a little interesting. And that was my thoughts exactly when I rolled into the gun store and I saw these Super Duty pistols and the Super Duty rifle, and I immediately picked it up and just looked right at the trigger. Because look, I've been using Geissele stuff for a long time. I've got the the dynamic triggers with the straight bow. I've got the regular M4 bow triggers. I had never seen this particular trigger ever, so I was a little bit perplexed. So anyway, I kind of researched it, and here's the deal on this trigger. This trigger is only available on this Super Duty pistols and the Super Duty rifle. What this trigger is, it's basically an SSA-X, which is the government trigger. So what is the government trigger? So basically it's an SSA trigger. It's wider. It's got a nano-coated wide body trigger itself, but it's still an M4 profile, but it's wider than the normal Geissele trigger. It has a nano-coated hammer, and then the disconnect is actually chrome nitrided. So that, all that said, what does this give you? Well, it allegedly is going to give you much corrosion resistance compared to the regular Geissele trigger, which I've never had any problem corroding, and I put those things through hell before hunting hogs. It's supposed to require minimal lubrication while still retaining a really crisp break. Which is good. It kind of goes back again. This is a government military type applications. So what are my thoughts on this trigger? Look, I've used the SSA tons of times. I actually prefer, my main trigger right now is the SSA-E, the enhanced trigger, which is a little bit lighter, and I use that in the regular M4 profile as well as the super dynamic. Okay, but this trigger is a little heavier to me, and I was reading some of the stuff, and this thing must come, when you buy the trigger, the regular SSA-X, it comes with two different springs. It must come in these rifles with the heavier one, because this thing feels, the first stage in particular, feels heavier than on a regular SSA. Now, the interesting thing about this is, if you just look at the profile of this, the reason that this is only available on these rifles is this trigger itself, which is a lightning bow. And that's only normally been available on the IMI Taver, from what I can tell. So the only way to get this particular trigger, which I think looks really cool, it's very different than a normal Geissele trigger, is on these Super Duty rifles and pistols. So again, to me, gun is clear. First stage. That first stage is just, man, it's pretty heavy for a Geissele. Really nice clean break. Reset. I mean, it's a Geissele trigger. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. I think it's really cool. And anyway, that's it. That's the Geissele SSA-X government trigger with the lightning bow. And the only way to get one of these presently is on one of these Super Duty rifles or pistols.